Far above a dead gray planet, a broken alien ship floated in silence. Its metal body was torn and burned, slowly spinning in the darkness. No lights blinked. No engines roared. It was a ghost drifting in space. Inside the ship, deep in the cold halls, something small moved. It was a strange creature, no taller than a human child. Its skin glowed faintly in the dark, soft blue and white colors. Big, round eyes blinked weakly. Tiny hands scratched at a cracked glass dome covering its small body. This creature had once been loved. It was someone's pet, once a treasure of an alien family. But now, it was alone. The crash had killed everything else. Only the pet remained, trapped inside a damaged life support pod. The pod hissed and sparked. It was failing. The thin air inside was running out. The soft glow around the creature flickered. It had only a few hours left before the last breath would leave its body. It cried softly, a sound like a bird's last song. Far away, on a small human research station, alarms began to beep. "Commander," said a young officer, "I'm picking up a weak signal. It's coming from that wreck above Sector 9. Commander Reyes, a tall woman with sharp eyes, leaned over the officer's shoulder. The screen showed a faint pulse. Beep, beep, beep. "A distress signal," Reyes said. "But it's old. That ship crashed months ago." "Should we ignore it?" another officer asked. "Could be a trap. Pirates sometimes use fake signals." Reyes frowned. She hated making choices like this. Risking lives for a ghost was foolish. But deep inside, something told her it wasn't just a ghost. "Can we get visuals?" she asked. The station's camera zoomed in on the dead ship. At first, there was nothing, just broken metal and drifting junk. Then, something caught the light. A tiny, glowing figure inside a cracked window. Everyone stared. "It's alive," whispered the young officer. Reyes made her decision. "Suit up," she ordered. "We're going." "But Commander," said the officer, "the wreck is unstable. It could break apart if we get too close." "I know," Reyes said, "but we can't leave it to die." The team moved fast. 4 humans put on their spacesuits, locking helmets and checking oxygen tanks. Their small rescue shuttle, Hope Runner, launched from the station with a low hum. Inside the shuttle, the team prepared for danger. "Remember," Reyes said, "we go in quick. No long stays. If the ship shifts, we pull out. No heroics." "Understood," said Sergeant Lane, her second in command. As they approached the wreck, the shuttle shook. Pieces of metal floated around like knives in zero gravity. "Steady," Reyes said through gritted teeth. The broken ship looked even worse up close. Huge holes ripped through its body. Some parts glowed with silent fires. Frozen bodies of alien crew members drifted nearby, untouched since the crash. The pilot carefully guided Hope Runner into a docking point. The metal creaked and groaned under the small shuttle's weight. "Pressure stable," said Lane. "Docking complete." The humans moved fast, pushing through the cracked hallways. Their boots clicked on metal floors covered in ice and dust. They followed the weak signal, moving deeper into the broken ship. The air was dead and cold. Strange shapes floated in the corners of their vision. Every step felt like walking through a graveyard. Finally, they reached the room. The life support pod stood in the center, cracked and dying. The small creature inside looked up at them with wide, terrified eyes. "It's just a baby," whispered one of the crew. Reyes stepped closer, careful not to make sudden moves. The creature pressed a hand against the glass, leaving a glowing handprint. "It's begging for help," Reyes said, voice tight with emotion. Suddenly, the floor under them shook. A loud crack echoed through the ship. Metal beams snapped and fell around them. "The ship's breaking up," Lane shouted. "We have minutes, maybe less." "Get it out," Reyes ordered. The creature hummed again, its energy radiating throughout the room. The walls trembled. The remaining enemy forces hesitated, too frightened to move. Reyes realized something. This creature, It's not just defending itself. It's protecting us. But the station was still unstable. The reactor core was minutes away from melting down. She couldn't waste time. "We don't have much time," she said. "Get everyone out of here. Now." "Commander, what about the creature?" Lane asked, his voice filled with worry. Rise looked at the creature, still glowing brightly, holding the aliens at bay. "It's not safe here. We need to move it to the escape pods." Dr. Harris nodded. "It's ready. We can take it with us." Rise grabbed the pod and headed toward the nearest escape hatch. The team followed quickly, making sure to keep the alien attackers at bay. The station was shaking even more now, the walls groaning in protest. As they reached the escape pods, Rise turned to the soldiers. "Go now. We launch in 30 seconds." One by one, the soldiers climbed into the pods. Rise was the last to enter, carrying the pod with the creature inside. The escape pod doors slammed shut. The engines fired, and the pod shot into the dark, empty space. Behind them, the research station exploded in a fiery burst. Word count: 810 words. Style: third person, simple English, intense and suspenseful. The escape pod drifted through the darkness of space, its engines silent after the burst of speed that had saved them. Inside, Commander Reyes and the survivors were quiet, each of them staring out at the vast emptiness. The station they had fought so hard to protect was gone. There were no more alarms, no more enemy ships, just the silence of space. Reyes sat in the corner, the creature's pod safely secured next to her. The small alien rested inside, glowing faintly. Its eyes were closed, but it didn't sleep. It only watched, always aware, always waiting. "How long until we reach the nearest station?" Lane asked, breaking the silence. Rice checked the navigation screen. "A few hours. It's not far." "Good," Lane replied, sighing in relief. "At least we can get some answers. This whole mission has been insane." Rice nodded. She could feel the weight of the loss pressing on her chest. So many had died. So many had fought. And yet they were left with only the creature and a handful of survivors. "We'll get answers," Rice said quietly. "But I'm not sure I want to know everything. What if this creature is something we can't control?" Lane raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I mean, it's not like anything we've ever seen before," Rice explained. "That power, the way it stopped the aliens. What if it's dangerous?" "You think it's dangerous?" Lane asked, glancing at the creature. Rice looked down at the small alien, still glowing softly. "I don't know. I don't think it means harm. But we can't ignore the power it has." Just then, the creature hummed. A soft, melodic sound that filled the pod with a strange calm. The air seemed to grow warmer, and for a moment, Rice felt at peace. It was as if the creature was telling them everything would be okay. Then, a sharp beeping came from the navigation panel. "Commander," Dr. Harris shouted, "we've got a problem." Rice rushed over. "What is it?" "And it won't stop until we're dead," Rice finished. The soldiers fired their weapons. Bullets bounced off the drone's armor, leaving only small dents. "This isn't working," someone yelled. The drone fired again. Sparks flew as metal crates exploded. The humans stayed low, trapped. "We have to distract it," Rice said. "Split its focus." "I'll draw its fire," Lane offered. "You get to the creature." Rice nodded once. "Be careful." Lane jumped from cover, shouting and waving. The drone turned, locking onto him. As it fired, Lane ran in a zigzag, leading it away from the med bay entrance. Rice and two others rushed down the hall, heading for the creature. The hall shook as the drone fired behind them. Pieces of the ceiling fell. Pipes burst open, spraying steam. Finally, Rice reached the med bay. The small creature was awake now. It looked frightened. Its eyes darted around the room. "It's okay," Rice said gently. "We're here to help." Behind her, The heavy thumps of the drone's steps grew louder. Suddenly, the creature pressed its small hands against the glass of the pod. It made a sharp musical sound, a sound filled with fear and power. The station's lights flashed wildly. Computer screens blanked out. The ground shook. The drone froze. For a few long seconds, it stopped moving completely, like a puppet with its strings cut. "What just happened?" one of the soldiers whispered. The creature sang again, softer this time. Its glow grew stronger, spreading out like a mist. The drone's red eye blinked rapidly. Slowly, carefully, it lowered its weapon. It wasn't attacking anymore. Reyes stared in shock. "It listens to it." The small creature looked at Reyes with its big, trusting eyes. "You control it, don't you?" she whispered. Before anyone could say more, the station shook again, this time from outside. Alarms blared louder. "Warning, unidentified ships approaching. Docking in 2 minutes." Reyes's heart sank. "If the drone came looking for the creature," she said, "what else is coming?" The crew didn't have long to wonder. Through the station windows, they could now see dark, sharp shapes moving through space, small attack ships, sleek and deadly. They were not here for peace. They were coming to take the creature back, and they were willing to kill anyone who stood in their way. Reyes looked at her team. She looked at the small alien who had trusted them. "We fought to save it once," she said, gripping her rifle tighter. "Now we fight to protect it." Her team nodded. The battle for the creature, and maybe for humanity's future, was about to begin. The enemy was at their door. Reyes stood in the center of the core shelter, her rifle aimed at the metal doors. Sweat dripped down her face, and her eyes never left the door. She could hear the thumps outside. Aliens were pounding, trying to break through. The small creature rested in its pod, glowing faintly. Its eyes moved, following Reyes. She looked down at it and whispered, "We'll keep you safe, I promise." The rest of the team was ready, standing at their posts with weapons drawn. The soldiers moved quietly, each one waiting for the signal. "How much time do we have?" Reyes asked, turning to Dr. Harris. Harris checked his wrist screen. "If we don't stop the reactor from overheating, we have less than 15 minutes before a meltdown." "Great," Reyes muttered. Outside, another loud explosion shook the station. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. The enemy was getting closer. The doors rattled as the aliens pounded against them. "They're almost through," one of the soldiers said. Reyes took a deep breath. "Prepare for impact." The door shuddered and buckled. Metal screamed as it was slowly pushed in from the outside. Reyes turned to the team. "Listen up. We fight here and now. If they get through, they'll destroy everything. We hold this ground. For the creature. For humanity." The soldiers nodded. They were ready, though the fear was visible in their eyes. But they were humans, and humans never gave up. Another crash. The door finally gave way. The aliens rushed in, sharp claws gleaming in the dim light. Their eyes glowed a terrifying red. They were huge, with thick armor and weapons that could cut through steel. Reyes fired first, hitting the lead alien square in the chest. It collapsed, but more came, flooding into the room. The battle was chaos. Gunfire and alien screeches filled the air. The humans fought back with everything they had, but there were too many. The creature in its pod suddenly started to glow brighter. It hummed again, a soft, melodic sound. For a moment, the fighting slowed. The aliens hesitated. "Now's our chance," Reyes shouted. The team moved quickly, pushing back the enemy for a few seconds. But there were just too many aliens. They kept coming, their numbers overwhelming. Reyes gritted her teeth. "We can't hold them off much longer." The small creature's glow grew stronger. The aliens froze again, their faces twisted in confusion. Then, without warning, a flash of light burst from the creature. A wave of energy pushed through the room, knocking the aliens back. Reyes fell to the ground, stunned by the force of the blast. She gasped for breath, her ears ringing. The room was silent for a moment. The aliens that had been near the creature's energy wave were now unconscious, sprawled on the floor. The rest hesitated, confused and unsure. What just happened? One of the soldiers asked. The creature, Rice said softly. It has power. Dr. Harris stepped forward, his eyes wide. This creature, it's not just a survivor, it's a weapon. Before anyone could react, the doors burst open once more. This time, the alien forces were led by something much bigger. A massive figure, almost twice the size of the others, strode into the shelter. Its armor was different, darker, sleeker, more advanced. The commander, Rise whispered, the one who spoke to us. The alien commander's red eyes locked onto the creature in its pod. It stepped forward slowly, its massive weapon raised. It aimed at the creature. No, Rise shouted. Before she could act, the creature's glow grew to an intense light. It sent out another wave of energy, stronger than before. The alien commander stumbled back, its armor shaking, then fell to one knee. The massive weapon dropped from its hands. The alien commander let out a shrill scream, and the remaining aliens around it backed away, terrified. Rice stared in disbelief. It's fighting back. The pod's landing thrusters fired, slowing their descent as they came closer to the station. With a final jolt, the pod touched down on the platform. The doors hissed open. The team quickly gathered their gear and prepared to leave. The creature floated beside them, its glowing light pulsating as if sensing the danger ahead. They moved quickly through the dark, empty halls of the station, the flickering emergency lights casting eerie shadows on the walls. The sound of their footsteps echoed. We need to get to the core, Rice said. We can stop the meltdown if we get there in time. As they made their way toward the reactor, an unexpected sound broke the silence. A loud crash echoed through the hallway, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps. The ground shook. Rice spun around. A group of alien soldiers stood at the end of the hallway, their weapons aimed at the team. But they weren't alone. Behind the soldiers was the alien commander, larger and more menacing than ever before. Its armor was dark and sleek, glowing with an ominous red light. I told you, the commander said, its voice deep and cold. You have no idea what you're dealing with. The soldiers raised their weapons, but Rice didn't flinch. She stood firm, her eyes locked onto the commander. You won't stop us, Rice said, her voice steady. We're here to fix the core and stop the meltdown. The commander let out a low, mocking laugh. Fix it? You think you can fix anything? The station is already lost. The core is beyond saving. Rice gripped her rifle tightly. Then why are you still here? The commander's red eyes narrowed. Because that creature is the key. It is the reason this station exists. You don't know what you've unleashed. The small alien next to Rice hummed again, this time louder, its glow flickering. It seemed to sense the commander's threat. The creature stepped forward, its tiny hand reaching out as if to defend itself. For a moment, there was a strange, quiet stillness in the air. Then, with a sudden burst of energy, the creature sent a wave of power toward the aliens. The soldiers stumbled back, their weapons knocked from their hands, and the commander reeled as if struck by an invisible force. Rice watched in awe. The creature's power was far greater than she had ever imagined. Stop, the commander screamed, struggling to regain control. You don't understand. It was meant to be used. It is the only way. The creature's glow grew brighter, and the station trembled. The core was closer to meltdown now. There wasn't much time. Rice turned to her team. We need to get to the core. Now. They rushed past the commander, leaving the stunned alien soldiers behind. The commander's voice echoed after them. You will regret this. You cannot control it. It will destroy you all. Ignoring the threats, Rice led the way down the hall. They reached the core room just as alarms began blaring. Too late, Dr. Harris said, checking his screen. It's starting to destabilize. Reyes moved to the control panel, her hands flying over the buttons. We need the creature to help. It's the only way. The small alien floated toward the console, its glow flickering as it seemed to sense the energy around it. It hummed again, the sound vibrating through the room. The energy levels in the core shifted. Is it working? Lane asked, watching the readout on the screen. It's stabilizing, Harris said, his eyes widening. For a moment, everything seemed to calm. The lights in the room brightened, and the alarm stopped. The core was no longer in danger of exploding. Reyes turned to the creature, a look of amazement on her face. You did it. The alien looked back at her, its glowing eyes calm and knowing. Then, in a voice that was not spoken but felt in their minds, it whispered, I saved you. Now you must save others. Reyes didn't fully understand, but she knew one thing. The creature had given them more than just survival. It had given them a chance to learn, to grow, and to face whatever lay ahead. And as the station's power returned, the team stood together, not just as survivors, but as a new force in the galaxy. The creature was their ally, their guide. But there was one thing they all knew for sure. The battle wasn't over. It had only just begun. Take a look, Harris said, pointing at the screen. Reyes stared at the blinking red alert. The nearest station was showing as offline. No signals, no power. What does that mean? Lane asked. It means the station is down, Reyes said. Either they're under attack, or they'd gone dark for some other reason. Could it be another alien ship? Harris asked, fear in his voice. Reyes didn't answer immediately. The truth was, she didn't know. She only knew one thing. They had to get there. It was their only chance to regroup and get help. But before they could do anything, the creature's pod began to glow brightly, even brighter than before. The hum it made grew louder, and the air around them began to buzz with energy. Wait, what's happening? Lane shouted. I don't know. Reyes responded, panic creeping into her voice. Something's wrong. The creature's eyes opened suddenly. Its large, dark pupils focused on them. It made a high-pitched sound, almost like a cry for help. The pod's lights flickered, and then the whole pod began to shake. Get away from it, Dr. Harris yelled, backing away. But Reyes couldn't move. She stared at the creature, her heart racing. She could feel its fear, its desperation. It wasn't just a pet. It was something more, something ancient and powerful. The pod opened with a soft hiss, and the creature floated out, its small body surrounded by an eerie light. It looked at each of them in turn, then turned toward the navigation panel. Before anyone could react, it reached out with its tiny hand and touched the screen. A strange pulse of energy shot through the pod, and the screen blinked to life. The station, the one that had gone dark, now had a new message on its screen. Warning. Core breach imminent. Evacuate immediately. Reyes felt her blood run cold. What's happening there? The creature hummed again, its body glowing with a soft, calming light. It seemed to be connecting with the station's systems, using its energy to communicate. Then it turned back to Reyes. I think it wants us to go there, Reyes said, her voice low. It's trying to show us something. But why? Lane asked. The creature's glowing eyes flickered, almost like a signal. Then, it gently floated back toward the pod, its soft hum filling the air again. It didn't seem afraid anymore. It seemed calm, like it knew exactly what to do. Reyes stared at the station's message. If the core was going to breach, then that meant they had only one chance to stop it. If they didn't act, the whole station would be lost, and they might never get another chance to find out what was really going on. We're going, Reyes said, a determination filling her voice. We have to stop this, for all of us. Dr. Harris, Lane, and the others nodded. But just as Reyes moved to take the pod back, A new alert sounded. The escape pod systems blinked with a message. The team worked quickly. They used laser cutters to free the pod from its broken supports. Sparks flew. The creature whimpered but stayed still, trusting these strange beings. As they lifted the pod, the ship groaned again. A huge piece of ceiling crashed behind them. "Move! Move!" Ray shouted. They ran, carrying the pod between them. Their boots slipped on the icy floor. The hallway twisted and bent as the ship tore itself apart. The docking door was in sight. Freedom was just ahead. Behind them, the wrecked ship let out a final roar, a sound like the death of a giant. The team burst into the shuttle, sealing the door just as a shockwave threw debris into space. "Go, go, go," Wright shouted. The pilot slammed the controls. Hope Runner peeled away from the wreck just as it exploded, sending a wave of fire and metal into the void. Inside the shuttle, the team collapsed into their seats, breathing hard. The small creature curled up inside the pod, weak but alive. Rise looked at it and smiled. "You're safe now," she said. But deep inside, she wondered, what had they just brought back? The shuttle Hope Runner sped back toward the human research station. Inside, the team stayed quiet. The small alien creature lay inside its cracked life support pod, breathing slowly. Each breath looked weaker than the last. "We need to get it to medical. Fast," Rice said, her voice sharp. The creature's glow was fading. Its skin, once bright blue and white, now looked pale like old ice. The life support pod beeped weakly, flashing red warnings. Its systems were failing faster than anyone had expected. "Pod oxygen levels at 5%, Sergeant Lane reported. "It won't last long." Rice felt the pressure building in her chest. They had saved it from the wreck, but now it could still die. Right in front of them. "How long until we reach the station?" Rice asked. 7 minutes, the pilot replied. "If we push the engines." "Push them," Rice said. "Break them if you have to." The pilot nodded and pressed hard on the controls. The shuttle engines roared louder, shaking the small ship. Warning lights flashed on the dashboard, but nobody cared. Not now. Then, suddenly, the shuttle rocked violently. An alarm screamed. "What was that?" Ride shouted. "Debris field," the pilot yelled. The wreck explosion filled this sector with junk. Through the small windows, they could see it. A cloud of metal shards spinning in all directions. Sharp pieces, some as big as cars, others as small as knives, filled the space between them and the station. If they went through it, the shuttle could be ripped apart. If they stopped, the creature would die. "Commander," Lane said, "we can go around, but it will add 10 more minutes." Rise looked at the small creature, its eyes half closed, barely moving. It didn't have 10 more minutes. "We go through," Rise decided. "Get ready to dodge." The pilot gritted his teeth and flew the shuttle straight into the debris field. Inside, everyone strapped themselves in tightly. Metal pieces slammed against the shuttle's shields, making loud bangs. The whole ship shook like a tin can in a storm. A large piece of a broken engine smashed into the side. Sparks flew. One engine coughed and died. "Engine 2 offline," the pilot shouted. "We can make it," Rice said firmly. "Keep going." The shuttle zigzagged, dodging larger debris. Smaller pieces bounced off the hull. The station was in sight now, a shining point of safety in the darkness. Suddenly, a huge, sharp beam floated right in their path, too big to dodge. "We're going to hit," the pilot shouted. "Brace," Rice yelled. The beam scraped along the shuttle's side, tearing into the hull. A loud hiss filled the cabin. Air was leaking out. "Oxygen leak," Lane reported. "Emergency seals holding, but we're on borrowed time." The shuttle limped forward, slower now, trailing smoke and sparks. But the station grew closer with every second. "Send an emergency dock request," Rise ordered. The pilot hit the signal button. A green light flashed back. "Docking bay ready," the station answered. "Come in hot." The pilot didn't need to be told twice. He drove the shuttle forward with everything it had left. With a hard jolt, the shuttle slammed into the station's docking bay. Magnetic locks clamped onto the shuttle, pulling it in. Incoming transmission. Unknown origin. The screen flickered. The voice that came through was deep, cold, and filled with an unnatural calm. "You have the creature. You have no idea what you are dealing with, and you will regret your actions." Reyes stiffened. The voice was unmistakable. It was the alien commander, the one who had attacked them. "We have to go now," she ordered. The escape pod fired back toward the station, its engines roaring as it cut through the cold darkness of space. The unknown threat was still out there. But this time, they would be ready. And as the pod approached the station, Reyes looked down at the small alien creature. Its eyes were calm, filled with something far deeper than fear. It was ready to face whatever was coming next. The escape pod flew through space, heading straight for the station. The team sat in silence, the hum of the engines the only sound in the cabin. Reyes gripped the armrest tightly, her mind racing with thoughts. The creature beside her had been so calm, so certain. But now, as they approached the station, that calmness had turned into a heavy feeling. Something was coming. Something bigger than all of them. "We're almost there," Dr. Harris said, his voice tense. "But the station's systems are still unstable. We might not make it inside." "We have to try," Reyes replied, her gaze fixed on the blinking lights ahead. "This creature knows something. It's trying to tell us." The small alien in the pod gave a soft, musical hum, its glowing eyes turning toward Reyes. It seemed to understand, to communicate without words. But the question remained, what was it trying to show them? The station loomed larger as they approached. Its once pristine surface was now scarred, with deep cracks and ruptures from the earlier attacks. The atmosphere was fading. The power was nearly gone. "We're losing time," Lane said, nervously glancing at the countdown clock. "If we don't get inside and fix the core, the whole place will implode." Reyes nodded, her mind focused. "Get ready. We're landing in 5. The research station was in chaos. Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed in every hallway. Officers shouted orders. Soldiers grabbed weapons and armor. Commander Reyes stood firm, watching the dark shapes getting closer on the station's radar screens. The alien attack ships had surrounded them. There were 6, maybe more. Their weapons glowed, ready to fire. "They're hailing us," the communication officer said. "Put it on," Reyes ordered. A voice crackled through the speakers. It was deep and cold. "Return our property, or die." Reyes felt the weight of the words. She glanced at the small alien creature resting in the med bay, still weak but glowing gently. She looked back at the screen. "We don't give up living beings to people who would let them die." There was a long pause. Then the alien voice returned. "You have made your choice. Prepare to be destroyed." The signal cut off. The enemy ships powered up their weapons. "Shields up," Reyes shouted. "Battle stations." The soldiers raced to their posts. Guns were loaded. Defense drones powered up. Emergency walls sealed important sections. In the med bay, Dr. Harris worked quickly to move the small alien into a portable pod. "We need to get it to the core shelter," Harris said. "It's the safest place." Reyes nodded. "Move fast." Suddenly, the station shook violently. Enemy ships had opened fire. Metal groaned. Lights flickered. Sparks rained from the ceilings. Reyes grabbed the new life support pod herself. The alien inside opened its big bright eyes and looked up at her. "Hang on, little one," Reyes whispered. "We'll protect you." The station's loudspeakers blared. "Warning. Hull breaches on Deck 5 and Deck 6. Reactor core unstable. Evacuate non-combat personnel." Lane caught up to Reyes as she sprinted down the shaking hallway. "Commander," he said, "we have another problem." "More than getting shot at?" Rise asked grimly. "The core is overheating. If they hit us again, we could lose power completely. Or worse, the whole station could explode." Rise cursed under her breath. "All right," she said. "We split. Lane, you and half the team defend the reactor. Keep it running. The rest follow me. We protect the creature." Lane nodded. "Good luck, Commander." "You too," she said. They split at the next hallway. Reyes, carrying the alien pod, ran toward the core shelter, the station's strongest room, built to survive disasters. Behind her, the enemy was coming. The aliens had sent boarding teams. Strange, tall creatures with metal armor and glowing weapons cut through the station walls. They moved fast, their sharp claws ripping through doors like paper. "Hold the line," Wright shouted. Her soldiers formed a wall, firing at the incoming aliens. Blaster shots filled the air. Smoke and fire burned the halls. One alien lunged at Reyes, its mouth full of sharp teeth. Before it could reach her, the small creature in the pod suddenly glowed brighter. A soft, musical hum filled the hallway. The alien froze mid-attack. It shivered violently, then collapsed to the floor, unconscious. The humans stared in shock. "What was that?" one soldier gasped. Reyes smiled grimly. "Our secret weapon." The creature, still weak, chirped softly. Its glow faded back to normal, but its eyes stayed locked on Reyes, trusting her completely. "We have to move," Reyes ordered. They fought their way to the core shelter. More enemies came, but the team held firm. Every time the creature hummed, nearby aliens hesitated or fell, giving the humans a small edge. At last, they reached the thick, steel doors of the shelter. Inside. "Hurry," Reyes shouted. The doors slammed shut behind them. Inside the shelter, engineers, medics, and officers set up defenses. The small alien pod was placed in the center of the room. For a moment, everything was still. Then Reyes spoke. "They're not going to stop," she said. "They want this little one, and they'll tear this station apart to get it." She looked at her team, bruised, tired, but still standing. "But we're not giving it up." The team cheered quietly, gripping their weapons tighter. Outside the shelter walls, heavy thuds shook the ground. The aliens were trying to break in. And at the same time, deep in the heart of the station, the reactor core temperature climbed higher. They were trapped. Time was running out. And the worst was yet to come. The outer doors closed just as another piece of debris smashed against them. Inside the bay, medics rushed forward, wearing heavy suits and carrying emergency gear. "Get the creature to the med bay," Reyes shouted, helping to lift the cracked pod. The alien opened its eyes slightly, looking at Reyes. It made a soft chirping sound, weak but full of hope. "You're going to be okay," Reyes whispered. The team ran through the station halls. People stopped and stared at the strange creature they carried. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. Inside the med bay, doctors and scientists quickly set up special equipment. They connected the pod to new life support systems, pumped fresh oxygen inside, and scanned the creature's body. "Stable for now," said Dr. Harris, the lead medic, "but it's very weak. We don't understand its biology. If we make one mistake—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Reyes stood by the pod, watching carefully. The creature looked up at her again. This time, it reached out a small, glowing hand toward the glass. Without thinking, Reyes placed her hand over the same spot. A warmth spread through her fingers, gentle and electric. The creature chirped softly and closed its eyes, resting at last. The team sighed with relief. For now, the small alien was safe. But in the dark corners of the station, others whispered. Strange things were happening. Equipment flickered. Lights dimmed without reason. And deep in the ruins of space, something else had noticed the humans' rescue mission. Something very old. Something very dangerous. And it was coming. The research station was calm on the outside, but inside, the humans moved quickly, working to save the strange alien creature. Machines beeped softly. Doctors checked screens. Engineers repaired the damaged shuttle. Commander Reyes stayed close to the medbay. She watched the small creature sleeping in its new life support pod. Its glowing skin looked brighter now. Its tiny hands twitched like it was dreaming. "You did good," Sergeant Lane said, coming to stand beside her. Reyes nodded. "We're not done yet." Before Lane could answer, a loud alarm rang through the station. "Warning. Intruder detected. Sector 4. Warning. Intruder detected." Reyes stiffened. What now? The station's lights flickered. Screens showed a map. A red dot moved through the lower halls, fast and steady. "That's near the docking bay," Lane said. "And near the med bay," Reyes added, her voice tight. She grabbed her helmet and rifle. "Let's move." The team raced down the halls. Other crew members jumped aside, staring at the armed soldiers running past. They reached the docking bay and stopped cold. Standing there, lit by flashing red lights, was a tall machine. It looked like a giant spider, with sharp metal legs and a glowing red eye in the center. Its body was burned and broken in places, but it moved with deadly speed. "What is that thing?" whispered one of the soldiers. Reyes knew immediately. Defense drone. From the alien wreck. The machine turned its red eye toward them. It scanned the humans quickly. Target detected. Threat to subject. Eliminate. Before anyone could move, the drone fired. A bright blue laser shot across the room, barely missing Reyes by inches. It burned a deep hole into the metal wall behind her. "Take cover," Reyes shouted. The team dove behind crates and machinery. The drone moved forward, its metal legs clicking loudly on the floor. "It thinks we're a danger to the creature," Lane said, breathing hard.